Hello and welcome back to Generic Sports Podcast. I'm your host, the Goose, Josh.
And I'm John.
And we apologize for not being here the last month or so. Life got a little hectic. I know we've mentioned it on the podcast before, but literally right after the Super Bowl, we were having the rest of the work done on our kitchen, and it just that was about a week, and then it was just a lot of cleaning and reorganizing and setting that up, and other stuff in life also came up. So we just didn't really get a chance to talk about any sports. And I'll start off with saying the Super Bowl wasn't a bad Super Bowl. Felt like it was kind of a predictable Super Bowl, especially after that first quarter when the 49ers just they turned over the ball as Christian McCaffrey was driving and stuff, and it felt like, not that everything that could go wrong for the Niners went wrong, but like, let's be honest. I mean, first of all, let's be honest. Brock Purdy was not a problem. I want to clearly state that. But everything else, just like I said, Christian McCaffrey, he was the one that fumbled the ball as they were driving. And then, I'm blanking on his first name.
Not saying that Christian McCaffrey was the problem either, just that the fumble happened on him.
Yeah, and then what was it? Blanking on his first name, but Greenlaw?
Dre
Greenlaw, yeah. That has to be like the worst timing for an injury. It wasn't even, it was on the field, but it was actually coming off the sideline. He tore his Achilles coming off the sideline after a punt or a kick or something like that, and he was going out on the field and he just went down, and it's like, literally, like, it was kind of like the whole all the bad luck, because like even Jake Moody missing the extra point that literally changed the game around, because they went for a tie. The Chiefs only had to go for a tie. The Niners didn't know the overtime rules. I didn't even know the overtime rules. Like, I didn't realize, like, when I was watching this, I'm like, oh, they're gonna, do we have Andy Reid's, like, time management problems coming up? Because I'm like, overtime's almost over. What? I'm like, oh, and then I think, like, Tony Romo and Jim Nantz were saying, that they get to finish off their possession in second, like, in second overtime, and I'm like, wow. Like, I didn't even know that was a thing. So, I mean,
right? Like, when did that I guess that was the new overtime rules that the Bills wanted or something. So that just seemed like, that didn't seem, I mean, I guess it is fair, but it just didn't seem like, why wasn't that advertised the entire week and part of something the whole week before, like with the Super Bowl?
Like, I mean, I don't know if it's fair. If it's like everybody gets a possession, but but why isn't it just an extra quarter of play? I don't know where the fairness in that is.
Right? They did the time. It's like the time was running out.
They still got. It's actually a moot point, because
they didn't go into it.
They didn't go into second overtime. They won it in like the last play.
Right? So it doesn't matter. They should change that. But like,
even Mecole Hardman, who caught the ball, didn't know the rule that he won the game because of the rule. So that does say a lot about the overtime rule. So I personally feel that we should just have the overtime rule should be the same as it is in the regular season, as it is in the playoffs. I don't even know if we should be playing to a tie anymore in these games. I don't. I know it sucks for the players, and it's a whole nother conversation that we could have. But I definitely think that the rules should be the same, regular season and postseason. I was thinking you might have wanted to add anything to that, so, or you just completely agree with that sentiment. I wasn't really sure.
About what, like, just keeping overtime the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't think there should be any special rules. Like, why should there be different rules in the playoffs than there should be in the regular season?
Yeah, that's exactly what I said. So that's why I wasn't sure if you were agreeing with that or not. But other than that, like I said, it felt like it was predictable because the last like 2 Super Bowls that the Chiefs actually won in with Patrick Mahomes, they were down by 10 each or something at halftime. So what was if they were actually down, if they, I think it was like, was it 10-3 or 14-3? I forget. It was like 10 or 11 points. If it wasn't that, if we didn't get that Christian McCaffrey fumble and they got points on that, I would have actually thought differently going into halftime.
So you're saying that they've watched too much WWE and that the Chiefs winning a game like that is like a Roman Reigns match?
I mean, I swear he's held the championship as long as he's held the championship as long as they've been winning Super Bowls. I think they won in 2020, so it's almost about the same.
So I'll say I don't care about like the bookings of certain matches of Roman Reigns. I still prefer his run as champion over anything with the Chiefs have done. Roman Reigns is the chief I care about.
So we're acknowledging him on this show. Okay. I mean, I acknowledge him, and I also acknowledge I think he's going to lose to Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. But we can say it here if it gets us any other viewers or them that we acknowledge the tribal chief.
we do. Anyways, what was so that was pretty much the Super Bowl. I think that's pretty good. I mean, it was bound to happen in 20 years that somebody would also back to back. It's too early to say predictions, but they are definitely winning the AFC West with everything that's going on.
Till someone beats them, they're winning the AFC champion. Till someone proves them wrong. They're wrong. I'm I'm dreading it right now. But
if we get a healthy Joe Burrow, I'm still counting. I'll still count Joe being in it. Joe wasn't in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there was anybody. Joe's been the only other. There's been 2 people to beat the Chiefs multiple times. It is Joe Burrow and it is Tom Brady. And Tom Brady is retired. So there's one person, at least in the playoffs, that has been able, that is still playing to be able to do it. So until then,
to be fair, just want to add a few things. One, he never got to play C.J. Stroud yet in the playoffs, who might have had a shot if they did play the Ravens. And 2, as I've been saying online and I'll say here, Super Bowl, the next Super Bowl LIX is the Miami Dolphins Super Bowl. We're winning it. I'm just going nuts right now. I'm speaking it. As I've typed it, I'm going more all in with it than the Cowboys are in free agency.
That doesn't take much. I mean, I'm more all in on I was gonna say, I want to say I'm all in on the Detroit Lions, but Jordan Love I'm riding the Jordan Love train.
People all over the world. Yeah. If we sing it, we're good, right?
I think we got 30 seconds or something of that.
So all right, you know where we were going. We're not singing anymore. Love train, woo.
I am on the love train. So, that being said, it's gonna. We obviously can't wait for the 2024 football season, even if we're in March. But first up, we had the combine. Not a whole lot to talk about here. JJ McCarthy was impressive. We can talk a little bit about the draft and stuff but the only other thing, probably the biggest thing, was Xavier Worthy breaking the fastest 40 time, which was just, I don't think it's not a big stat to look at, but it's a big deal in the combine. It's cool that he did it. I hope it's not I hope they look at everything else than just that, because how John Ross shook out. It's an awesome moment for him. The crowd loved it. Everybody loved it. So I'm happy for him. So
that's why I think Xavier Worthy would be good for the team team like the Dolphins or something, that someone that could take him and that he's not the number one receiver, expecting a lot out of him from that speed. Like, that speed would be a great compliment to the Dolphins' speed already.
Right.
But I don't know if he's a number one receiver because based on speed alone.
Right,
Like,
and even if you draft like that's the thing. Sometimes these wide receivers get drafted really high, and they might just pan out to be like a number two. Like, honestly, I've this is shocking, but Nelson Aguilar has had like kind of a resurgence after being that top draft pick for the Eagles, and it didn't work out for him. And I thought he played good with the Raiders that one season, and then he's been a good weapon for Lamar Jackson as a Raven. I'd honestly say he's a solid number two. So I think you're right. When, like, honestly, I've seen some mock drafts say like Xavier Worthy to the Kansas City Chiefs. That just makes sense. I don't like it, but it makes sense if Rashee Rice is coming up being your number one guy.
I don't know if Xavier Worthy, like, I haven't, besides, like, the Combine's, like, really, I think, all the most I've seen of him. I would need to see, like, see the rest of his skills, because I don't know if his speed would make him a number. I don't think he should be drafted in the first round. I'm not sure yet.
Well, but there's so much wide receiver talent. So it's like, if you need somebody and you're looking at wide receiver and he's the best available, you know, that's why I could see why Kansas City. It's between that or cornerback. We'll see what they're at when they get up to pick. But it's. There's so much, there's a lot of talent at a lot of positions. It all depends on if they work out, the right team picks them. Like, that's why I said, if you take him as knowing he's going to be a number two guy, or in your case, like a future, like, number two guy if it was the Dolphins, but basically, if there's already established guys, he'll learn from them, and that's going to be good for him.
He'll be better off going to a team like Miami or Kansas City, or even if Buffalo wanted him, somewhere like that, rather than needing to be a number one in somewhere, say, Carolina.
Well, I would be worried if Carolina, like,
or the Chargers.
But I don't think Carolina has a lot of draft capital to even worry about Carolina.
Unless he fell into, like, the second round, and then I still don't think Carolina should take him in their first pick.
I don't even know if they have a number two. But
if he went to the number three, I still don't. If Carolina's a third round pick,
no, they have the Giants, so that is actually a possibility. I forgot about that with the trade for. But we'll talk about that in a moment. Actually, the one I could see him in Tennessee, especially if he could learn from, like, Calvin Ridley. Now
and DeAndre Hopkins. So yeah,
is he there for more than 1 year? I wasn't sure. So.
Yeah, I think the
okay. So that actually could be a good place to learn from. But I don't see them taking him with a number two pick if they've got that a pretty full room. We'll see. But
there are better spots for him to go, basically.
Right. I just want to talk about the quarterbacks coming up, because there's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks that, if you look at the last couple of years, quarterbacks have not really panned out from the first round. So far, it's only Trevor Lawrence on the team that he's got, and he's kind of got to improve this year. Not to say like Mac Jones now, who is a Jacksonville Jaguar. I mean, I could see that if he doesn't improve, if he keeps fumbling that ball, you never know. Mac Jones might take over that spot.
Maxonville is coming.
It might. But I'm, as a Broncos fan, I'm a little worried about, like, who's going to be there at 12 if we have to move up and stuff, but I realistically think that, if the Bears are good and everybody can, like, mesh well, Caleb will be fine in Chicago. I think Jaden Daniels is going to be fine. I actually really don't know. I think Drake May is going to be, like, that next guy who's just like, hey, we're talking about you because you look really good, but doesn't pan out, kind of like Zach Wilson and a few other people that have just kind of, like, bumped themselves up.
I think a lot of those older quarterbacks, or like those quarterbacks from, like, 2021 and stuff, just fell into bad positions.
They did, but the ones I actually feel like I think JJ McCarthy really showed some stuff at the Combine. I like his team spirit too. I think he's definitely, like, he's one of those guys that just, I think, brings the right energy. So if he gets drafted, I'm not not sure if he'll be ready to lead the team, but he could definitely be one of those ones that sits for a year and be ready for the 2025 season.
I'm just waiting for the Chargers to repeat history and Justin Herbert becomes Drew Brees.
Oh Lord,
because his coach drafts him at 5.
That would be shocking. But before we get into any, let's. I want to just stay on topic about these next two because one, I think Denver and Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix. I don't know why he's not higher, and because I get it. He's been in college forever, but guess what? He's been through a lot of systems. He played good. He's I think he's been around pro style like offense. He's ready, and I think he's got a lot of talent, and I hope between JJ McCarthy, Bo Nix, and even Michael Penix, I hope one of them becomes the Broncos quarterback. Michael Penix Jr. might be a little lower because I know it's the injury history, but I don't think that really should be held against him.
I think I think Bo Nix and Michael Penix, both of them are being underthought of. I think they're going to might be two of the better ones because those two were like the two of the ones I wanted to watch in college football because of how well their teams were, and they helped their teams be better. Like, I know they didn't win the championship, but
Washington had a lot of talent around.
But there was a lot of talent in Washington. Oregon had a lot of talent. Just Michigan just had better. But I think Nix and Penix are going to be good, and I think they might, and with the possibility of being great. And I think they're better than some of the other prospects because I didn't see much of Drake May last season, and I only heard a little about Jaden Daniels. So
right, I'll be honest with you. Of the only team, like I think there's like the six that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first three are gonna go in the top three. I don't know where JJ McCarthy is going, but I think there's only really like 6 or 7 teams. So one team's probably gonna be like might get left out, and because the Giants are kind of a bubble team. I really don't think the Chargers are going to do anything. I know that. I don't think the Cardinals are going to do anything.
The Cardinals are not doing anything because if they were going to do anything, they would have done it already. They're paying like Kyler I think close to 30 guaranteed money, $30 million this year and next year. If it was over the weekend, they would have got rid of him if they didn't.
Okay.
So Kyler is their quarterback because he already has like guaranteed money for the next 2 years. So
and with like Kirk Cousins in Atlanta. The only you got
the Vikings are going to try to trade up.
You got that's the thing. You got the Bears, the Commanders, the Patriots, the Vikings, the Broncos. Those feel like the 5 teams that don't really have a quarterback, and the 2 bubble teams are the Giants and the Raiders. But I think the Giants might have too much invested to go after a quarterback, so that if it doesn't go great, they could get they could get one next season. And the Raiders signed Gardner Minshew, so I don't know. The Jets aren't. I don't see the Jets doing anything. So they're like the other team that
the Falcon. I feel like the Falcons are kind of like the Raiders in a sense of they got quarterbacks and they will do solid jobs for them, but I feel like they still might want to draft a quarterback, and they might draft one of the lower end quarterback, like a quarterback that's not Penix and like the quarterbacks after the top 6.
Yeah, but like there are those QB needy teams that and some of those teams like the Patriots, the Broncos. There's going to be a couple years of rebuilding, so we'll see how they do in the long term. So but I think getting them and saying, hey, this is our guy we're going to see how this guy. We're going to develop this guy. We're going to do our best to compete and build so that they can actually be so that team doesn't have to be on like any more QB carousels. That's going to be the thing, because you're not going to find another like Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, or Brock Purdy. It's very rare. So it's like, and everybody doesn't work out. Like like we've had plenty of failures in the first round too. So nothing is guaranteed at any level.
The only quarterback, there's a few quarterbacks, the lower end quarterbacks that are going to go in the lower rounds. around that I see that have possibilities of doing good is Spencer Rattler. I remember watching him in college, and he always seemed good. I guess he's been in too long and or just fell off, but I feel like he has the ability to get back on track. And Talia Tungavailoa, I feel like he was just because he was at a smaller school, like in Maryland. I feel like he has the ability to play well too.
Right.
Those are some of the like the lower round quarterbacks I'd watch out for. But who knows? I'm not saying they're just going to come in and be good, but they might be good in a few years.
Yeah, I can definitely. There's going to be somebody who surprises us. I think.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So anything else we want to add on from? Yeah, we can talk more about draft prospects later. For now, we'll talk about the NFL free agency period that we've kind of talked a little bit about in the last few parts. But God, there's so many moves. It's a real crazy time. Like I said earlier, Kirk Cousins is an Atlanta Falcon. Calvin Ridley's with the Tennessee Titans.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think of Chase Young is signed with the Saints. Josh Dobbs is a 49er.
Shaq Barrett is a Dolphin.
Right. Justin Simmons is a free agent and no longer a Bronco. Jerry Jeudy got traded to the Cleveland Browns. The Bills let go of a lot of players, including Jordan Poyer, who is now a Miami Dolphin. Revenge money.
I forgot who else we signed. I thought we signed someone else. Oh yeah, Sarah Neal we signed from the Bills as well. Who was a defensive back, who was more of a special teamer, but still. Revenge double, it's like more Bills to us.
And the Dallas Cowboys with their kind of nothing. That was their all-in move. We'll see.
It was a choice. I don't know about choice, but it was a choice.
Right. Meanwhile, let's start off with we'll go by teams here, but I think the one that we should talk about is that other team in Texas.
The one that actually feels like they got all in.
All right, they traded with the Bengals for Joe Mixon. Mm-hmm. They re-signed a few players like Noah Brown and Dalton Schultz. They signed Danico Autry and Danielle Hunter and Aziz Al-Shahir. I hope I said that right. But they got a lot of they got Jeff Okuda. They signed a lot of defense, and
they also got Tommy Townsend too for his punter.
Where was he from?
The Chiefs.
Oh right. They yeah. So they got a Super Bowl winning
punter.
So I would
punters matter,
right? I'm just looking like Tim Settle.
I don't know who some of these people are, but
they got. I'm just looking at the list, and it's like there's a lot of players. So
Pro Football Focus said that the Texans got the highest, the best free agency grade with an A for AFC teams free.
I mean, when you look at everything between what they re-signed and who they signed, like it felt like players wanted to go there, and they just. I mean, for a team that was defensive focused because of the head coach, I don't know how much more they needed to sign on offense. Like they're just going to build up together, I feel. But getting Joe Mixon in there to get a better run game was the big piece that they were missing. And then obviously re-signing Brown and Schultz were like good moves. But everything else, like on the defense, oh man.
And also getting players back will help them, like Hank Dell, who was doing great till he got injured.
Yeah. I still remember that game that he should not have played off. If he was coming off injury and he was still not 100%, I think. But I remember the game. I don't remember the whole circumstance around that game, or the injury, I should say.
Right. And then they had a 5-way tie, all with B pluses for the AFC of the Steelers, the Bengals, the Chiefs, the Dolphins, and the Patriots.
Now, I haven't checked all those teams. I've heard some of the moves with the Steelers because that's where Russ and Justin Fields and Patrick Queen are, but outside of those moves, I know they traded Deontay Johnson away. I don't know how much we'll have to look a little bit more in depth about that, but I did, and same thing with the Chiefs, and a little bit with I have to see the Patriots too, but I really like the Dolphins moves, and I really like the Bengals moves. The Bengals, I think, were kind of sneaky good, and them and the Dolphins would probably be my number two.
Yeah, let's see. The Steelers, besides getting the two quarterbacks, which they got them both both super cheap, so like, as a general manager move, wonderful. Will they pan out? That depends. And Patrick Queen, they got Dante Jackson in the trade for Deontay Johnson. That's not confusing. That's only slightly confusing.
Yes, Johnson for Jackson.
Yep, Dante for Deontay. Yep. They signed Deshaun Elliott, who was the safety who did well for Miami, and they got Miles Killebrew as well. So they have good safeties now.
Right, where did Killebrew come from, or did they re-sign him? The name sounds so familiar.
Killebrew. They re-signed him.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So adding Deshaun Elliott, they have good safeties.
Right.
But if you look at, we'll talk going to Miami after. I was just talking about the Bengals moves. The Bengals got a lot. Like,
I know. I'd actually like to talk about them a little later.
Mhm.
I kind of wanted to stay in the division with the AFC South and just kind of
since we're jumping all around, yeah.
Well, I don't really want to jump around, and I don't really want to follow just Pro Football Focus's list.
Yeah.
I want to say our stuff. So
okay, yeah, we can continue.
I don't really like if we say like this is the number 2 move. We can talk about it with Bengals.
I don't think honestly, I don't think the Steelers were the number 2.
I don't.
Moves. I only think if you did it, like what was it? Just based on cost, that like for the Fields and Russ, then yes. But that's about it. That's the only reason that they're not paying that much for two good in quotes quarterbacks. Yes, I'm doing the quote symbol that you can clearly see on this audio podcast.
Oh, I was gonna say quality. You don't know how much quality you're getting, and there's not a lot of quantity. So
it's a hard one to
judge.
Right? You're not losing much on. If it doesn't pan out, you didn't spend that much.
Yeah.
I still think getting rid of Kenny Pickett was a mistake.
Yeah, they also traded it. But we'll see. I think he might get another chance, like with Mac Jones and Zach Wilson. Once if they just be the backup, I think somebody will take another shot at them because eventually, like Kirk Cousins, and I mean that's why Justin Fields is there, because eventually sometimes you just can't hang around as much. Your skills diminish. The age catches up to you. Not everybody gets to be Tom Brady. Realistically, sometimes you have an injury and you have to retire kind of earlier than you'd like Peyton Manning. If Peyton didn't get hurt and have that the neck bothering him, could you imagine what else he could have probably done if he had an extra 2 or 3 years left, or even more if he went into his 40s?
Right. So which one do you want to jump to? Because I'm looking at some of the moves from the other AFC South teams. I do like a lot of the Jaguars moves. And
yeah, let's go to them.
Right. Well, they signed Gabe Davis and Devin Duvernay. So they lost Calvin Ridley, but I think they got better with some better options here.
I don't know about better, but definitely different. But Christian Kirk was a big part of their offense, and I think that him getting hurt last year that hurt. And same thing with Trevor that threw some stuff.
Yeah, Christian Kirk I think realized that
threw a wrench into it.
Christian Kirk I think proved that he was worth the money, and that he was number 1 receiver-esque. Like without him, it was very. But I think they have one of the best receivers in Christian Kirk and one of the best tight ends in Evan Ingram.
Evan Ingram's on top. Arguably, he's a top 5. Arguably, could be a top 3 tight end. He's especially because Travis Kelce and George Kittle didn't have the greatest years. And Mark Andrews came hurt. You could argue that Evan Ingram was the best tight end last season.
Right. They signed, and let's continue.
I was going to say, just look at the offensive line that they improved.
Right. Signing Mitch Morse for that good of a deal was a steal. Keeping Josh Allen was important.
Right. Well, I was saying on the offensive.
Yeah.
They got Ezra Cleveland, and
they re-signed, or did they? I thought they got him last year.
Oh, did they? Because it just a list I'm looking at says just signed him to a 3-year deal.
He might have been on a 1-year. Yeah. They traded for him last season.
Okay, but just being able to shore up your offensive line, and they also signed this Blake Hans too, or he signed an extension. But just being able to know that what you've got and being able to protect, Trevor Lawrence, is important. But like you were saying, Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Josh Allen. They signed Arik Armstead.
Eric. It's actually Eric.
Eric.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Just spelled differently. Okay.
Yes.
Eric Armstead. Ronald Darby, Darnell Darnell Savage. But one of the most important signings they did was Joey Sly, the kicker, because they don't have Brandon McManus anymore.
Right?
Was, as a Broncos fan, who even though he was good, he missed the key moments too much. And there are so many games that I've seen throughout the years that because of having a bad field goal kicker, teams have lost.
Yeah, well, like we talked about with the Super Bowl too. So they also signed Travis. Is it Travis? I don't know if it's pronounced Travis, but Travis Gibson and stuff. I don't know if it's Travis or. But
it might be Travis. It might
just
be Travis.
With, like Eric and stuff. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But honestly, just getting somebody, it's like one of those. They always like talk about rival, jumping ship from one rival to the other. So like, he went from the Titans to the Jaguars. So like, and now and they had a pretty solid one. Just like honestly, like this is going to be a tough division because everybody kind of made some good moves. Like they jumped, like he jumped from the Titans to the Jaguars. Calvin Ridley to the Titans. So they've got him. They got Tony Pollard, who if they just match him up with a power back or something, like Tony Pollard could just they could draft somebody.
Well, with the new coach being from like Cincinnati and liking the run with Joe Mixon, like I think Tony Pollard will get back to how he was.
Well, and there's going to be less expectations on him taking over for Zeke and everything. So I can see it. He might not. They should obviously, like, if they had I forget where Ernest Johnson went, but there was him and somebody, and I'm blanking on the other guy.
Ernest Johnson re-signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay, wasn't he with the Titans? There was a couple people who were like Derrick Henry who were.
I think you're thinking of Dante Foreman.
That's who I'm thinking of. Thank you. Yes, him. Like there were a couple people who, and there was one other guy I thought that was also with Titans at some point. That when Derrick Henry didn't play or like looked like a big guy, but either way.
But with Tony Pollard and Tajay Spears.
Oh, that's probably who I'm thinking.
You mean the rookie running back that's already on the team? Yeah. Tajay Spears, who did well last season. Yeah, like they should be fine without Derrick Henry.
They should, and especially having Calvin Ridley, and they got DeAndre Hopkins, and if Will Levis is the guy, he might compete against Mason Rudolph because they signed him, and who's the other guy Malik Willis was the other quarterback. So it's going to be an interesting quarterback room. I think anybody's up to. I think anybody can win that job. So
I worry about the Bengals because of losing losing the coach of the Titans, because I feel like because I said like I don't know how Zach Taylor's doing so good. Well, maybe his offensive coordinator was the one that was doing so good and helped make Joe Burrow better, because the Titans might be really good because of it now.
There's a shot about that. Oh, I know we talked about it earlier. Unless they're not like really unhappy and they think that like Bo Nix or JJ McCarthy could be good, the Titans feel like one of those teams that with them getting Mason Rudolph and that they've drafted a quarterback like the last 2 years. I don't know if they are going to draft a quarterback. They had a shot at these other quarterbacks before, so
I mean, right? You have two like these quarterbacks. We don't even know what they are except for Will Levis. Will Levis had one of the best comebacks ever, so I think there's potential.
Yeah, he's never going to forget that comeback. That one really stung.
I'm never going to forget that. I hope we can beat Titans this year without Mike Vrabel, but we'll see because they got a lot of pieces here.
Mike Vrabel now in as a special assistant defensive guy, I think, in Cleveland.
Yeah.
I don't know what his title is, but he's not the defensive coordinator. He's like one of those special
advisors.
Yeah. But they also signed. I think Lloyd Cushenberry was a good move. He came from the Broncos. I don't know if he was worth the money, but we'll see. And then they signed some guards. They re-signed, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. They got Nick Folk.
Yeah, no, they've got a good.
I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but Awuzie, like they signed him as a cornerback for 3 years.
Awuzie was always good. Yes, we can get a Awuzie, but we don't want to try that first name,
right? Yeah, he came from the Bengals, so like that makes sense. Like, I don't even want to try because I know
it's not Chidobe.
That's what I was thinking. Is it not? Because I was like Chidobe. I was like, maybe it is.
I don't know. I mean, I messed up on Eric Armstead, so I don't mind throwing it out there.
Okay. But like we'll move on to
the Colts.
Yeah,
Finish the division. No.
Yeah, they didn't have a bad.
They did a lot of resignings.
They did a lot of resignings.
People.
I was gonna say I think they may have been more of a quieter one, but re-signing Michael Pittman. They got Joe Flacco. Did they have Trey Sermon?
No, I think Trey Sermon was with the 49ers.
Right.
Well, actually, I forget. No. He was with he was with the Colts. Yeah.
Okay.
He was with the 49ers a while ago.
Okay. It's but just getting some of these players back, and re-signing Kenny Moore.
They signed Raekwon Davis from the Dolphins, who was pretty good. So that was a good signing.
Right. So just I'd say that they didn't make a huge splash, but I think they
re-signed a lot of their good players that other teams have lost a lot of homegrown players, and
right.
They didn't.
And the important thing was they signed Joe Flacco, which I think is a good guy to have in the quarterback room for Anthony Richardson, because I definitely think that if they would have re-signed Gardner Minshew after the season he had, it could have been a potential quarterback controversy battle in there. So I think they did the right thing.
This is a better move for Anthony Richardson because Gardner was really well, and I don't know if Gardner is going to do well with the Raiders, but I think Gardner might have really caused a controversy in Indy.
Yeah. All right. So I think we'll move on to another division.
Sure.
All right. Let's jump into the AFC North. I know we talked a little bit about it before, but I wanted to get in with the Bengals a little bit more. I think they had one of the best free agency signings, all of them just collectively. I know we talked about it a little bit before, like with PFF saying that they did, but like getting Trent Brown, on the opposite of Orlando Brown.
Yeah, yes, the Bengals are protected by the Browns.
Right.
Having the Browns protect Joe Burrow, like his big meaty offensive tackles, should hopefully work out well for them.
Right. Plus they re-signed Cody Ford. And they got Mike Gesicki.
And Gesicki should. I'm just happy he's with the Bengals, and I could, and not with Patriots, that he can be on a better team, and I can be okay rooting for him again.
Right. And they traded away Joe Mixon and got Zach Moss, which I'm not gonna lie, I think that was kind of a lateral move. Realistically, I think Zach Moss played really good with the Colts until they signed Jonathan Taylor. So it might even work out better for I
don't know if they were using Joe Mixon right, so I feel, or like Joe Mixon was like a little bit injury prone. I don't know, but this I think is a lateral move. I think they'll get the same production, if not better production, out of Zach Moss.
Well, I mean, obviously because their OC went to the head coach, being the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, we're gonna see a little bit different of an offense. But I feel like if they just keep, I forget who they have, but as long as it's all under Zach Taylor and they keep doing, keep kind of the same, system and formula, like basically what the 49ers do, it should be a relatively easy transition to a new offensive coordinator.
As long as Zach Taylor is more like a Kyle Shanahan type and not that was it Brian Callahan?
Yeah.
He wasn't the maestro doing all the wizardry for the offense.
I think it was Brian Callahan. I know Callahan was the right last name.
Yeah, I think Callahan. I forget if it was
one's like
I don't know if that
father
was him
and
or
son
his
are
father,
the team are on the team together. So. Anyways, still waiting to see if they do anything about T. Higgins long term. They haven't re-signed Tyler Boyd.
Boyd's a free agent right now.
Yeah, so to re-sign some other players. I actually like their defensive moves because they signed Sheldon Rankins to a 2-year deal. Von Bell returned to the team, and I thought he was he was a huge missing piece, like as far as the safety goes. So they had a good defensive back. The season they made the Super Bowl. So, and they also signed Geno Stone, also a safety. So that could definitely be a
signing him from the Ravens definitely is good.
Right, like that's always a plus when you can sign a rival player.
Yep.
So like just these moves, they just feel like it was to bolster their offense and defense, and just and who knows what they can get in the draft as well as the rest of free agency. So I really like their moves. The other team that I don't think they did anything bad. I don't know if they did as great of moves as the Bengals, but I like what I liked what Baltimore did too. They got Derrick Henry. If they use him right and there's no injuries, like that will definitely be they can be an offensive juggernaut and and maybe make it past the championship game this year.
As long as Lamar is not taking away some of his touches.
Well, I mean, you definitely got a plan for both. Like that's
Yes, that makes it difficult, but yeah, we definitely need to see Derrick Henry being used, and you also need it. And they also Keaton Mitchell was doing good before he got injured last season.
I think a lot of the running backs were doing good before
they got they had a running back injury bug in Baltimore, so they need to make sure they have healthy running backs.
Well, they also had Mark Andrews go down, but if Isaiah Likely's playing well, Mark Andrews play the 2 tight end set. Nelson Aguilar signed an extension, so you've still got him. And that just means he's a good chew to Save Flowers being the number 1. So you got plenty of stuff. You got weapons right now. So I forget I don't think did Rashad Bateman become a free agent or did he sign somewhere else? I'm blanking on that right now.
I think his contract is up.
He's one of those ones that really, if he's still with Baltimore, he needs to keep playing and
No, his contract's not up yet.
Oh, okay. It's like one of those ones that I feel like they drafted hot. It was first round draft pick and kind of got lost because
he has injury issues, which means either he'll keep going good or he'll end up a Miami Dolphin, which Miami likes to take chances on players with injury history.
Well, there are a few teams that do that, but they re-signed Justin Matabuke. They originally franchise tagged him, so not a bad thing.
Unfortunately, I wanted him to go to the Dolphins because of Anthony Weaver coming over too, but can't get everyone.
Right. I mean, sometimes not a bad move. I'm wondering if it's like they didn't get Patrick, re-sign Patrick Queen, so we'll see how I'm waiting to see what they I feel like they kind of stood pat for the most part, so I'm interested to see if they're gonna what they're gonna do to get over that hump. Do they think that Derrick Henry is just enough to get over that hump, and is their defense gonna stay? Because they lost a lot of not defensive pieces as far as coaching. Not players but coaches that lost a lot.
The question is their defense going to be the same as it used to be? Because this has been like the course for kind of Baltimore having great defense coordinators lately. So this is nothing new,
right? So, but you had the top defense last year, so it's you can kind of expect there's probably going to be a little of a tailspin, a little lower ranking on just to get used to that system. So, but other than that, I think that they did pretty good. I'd rank them as probably a solid B. I'm not really giving grades to all of these, but like I said, I'm going in order of the way I like them. I don't know if you agree, but I really like the Bengals moves compared to the rest of the division.
I like the Bengals moves. These are good moves for Baltimore. I don't know. I don't think the additions have outweighed the subtractions from Baltimore, but that's mainly because of the loss of the coaching staff, and that's not going to be able to be determined until we get to the season to see how the new coaching staff does.
Yeah. For me, this is the team that I think I have no idea because they went out and did a lot, but it really depends on the team. But that's the Steelers. They got Russell Wilson on a veteran contract. They then got traded for Justin Fields. We'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if Justin becomes the starter in the long run. They picked up Van Jefferson and Cordarrelle Patterson from the Falcons because they were free agents and they followed Arthur Smith. I'm honestly surprised Ryan Tannehill didn't follow here.
That would have made sense compared to the other 2 quarterbacks they got, but the Steelers are nonsensical when it came to quarterbacks this season.
Right? As a Broncos fan, getting rid of Russ was the right move, even eating the salary cap stuff. He doesn't feel like he's the same guy as he was that we were getting from Seattle. Even Seattle saw that. But, Ryan Tannehill knew the Arthur Smith offense, so like I'm surprised, and did really well under it. So I'm surprised. Like I feel that Ryan Tannehill could have been a really good teacher to Justin Fields, and I don't know, like I don't know, like I'm gonna be interested to see where Ryan Tannehill goes, because I think he's got a year or two left in him, and a good solid veteran quarterback.
Depends on I think it depends on if like quarterback gets injured. Like he could still end up with Pittsburgh if shit goes down.
Well, yeah, if Russ can't take it, that might even be his backup contingency plan. But because I really don't know, the stuff with Russ. Like, yeah, he made what, I think he was like 26 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, but there were games where he just, like some of it was the defense, but some of it, like they were barely getting like 20 points a game. They were, like they improved from the average of 16 points a game the season before, but only to like I think 19 or 20. Like I don't think it was a huge point average of points per game higher from 2022 to 2023. But besides that, like I said, they got Van Jefferson, Cordell Patterson. They signed Patrick Queen.
That was a big one.
I'm not sure about, like, they traded for Dante Jackson. They traded Deontay Johnson and exchanged like 6th and 7th round draft picks.
It kind of feels like a bit. I don't know if you'll get the same type of production out of Van Jefferson and Cordell Patterson, but at least you have some more things to make up for losing Deontay Johnson.
Right, and I also have Cordell Patterson listed here as a wide receiver. I thought he moved to running back.
He's both.
Right, like he is an all-purpose. So maybe that's what. But like, and then they signed a few other players. Got a new puncher and
Deshaun Elliott was from the Dolphins last season, and he as well, so that was good for them.
Yeah, and it says signed a 2-year deal, but it's like they re-signed Miles Killebrew.
Yeah.
And I thought he played. He kind of, I don't know if the right word is clutch, but he always felt like you'd hear his name when they were playing pretty consistently on the national televised games. So like he was making stops when they needed it the most. So I guess that is clutch in defensive clutch. But like I said, that's probably the most question mark one, because like looking at some of the odds of like I think the Steelers were like over under like 7.5 or 8.5 wins this year, and I'm just like, I mean,
I'm giving the over 8.5.
I mean, yeah,
at this rate with Mike Tomlin,
right? Like I can't imagine, like if he has his first losing season, I mean that's I think that's going to reflect on Russ more than anything.
Right.
But I don't think Russ is going to be around that long if it looks bad in the first few, during the offseason or even in the first few weeks. So he's not going to have a long leash. I don't feel. Mostly because you do have Justin Fields, there, and you've got every opportunity to see what he can actually become. And they obviously traded away Kenny Pickett to the Eagles after,
I think these are questionable moves, because I think the Steelers had more wins. Definitely had more wins put together than the wins Justin Fields had the last few seasons, they had more wins than both Russ and Justin Fields, and I don't know if they had more wins than both of them combined, but
right. But we will see. I think like I was saying, Kenny Pickett, I don't know if he got a fair shake. I don't even know what fair shake means, but like if
fair shot,
like he got kind of a raw deal. I don't, like he had a bad offensive coordinator for most of his career there, so
that can mess someone up. I mean, look at it took Alex Smith like so many years before he was starting to see some success in Kansas City. Like,
well, yeah, but I mean that's Andy Reid, so. But he also had but you can also look at Mac Jones. I mean, like, I hate Josh McDaniels as a head coach. Like, he has failed horribly. He should never get another shot as a head coach again. But is he a great offensive coordinator? Just like Steve Spagnuolo is a great defensive coordinator. Steve Spagnuolo might be able to get another shot as a defensive or as a head coach. But my point being is sometimes you're just a great coordinator, and you get the best out of your players, and Mac Jones might get another shot just as much as Kenny Pickett down the road if they get they're taking the backup roles to learn and become just to learn and understand better. But if something happens to their quarterback and they have to step up and step in and play, this is definitely going to give them a shot,
right? I mean,
a future shot, honestly.
I mean, we're all saying Justin Fields like has a shot to play, but we're not sure if the other two. I mean, Jalen Hurts and Trevor Lawrence need to play well too to make sure they keep the job. If the other two are playing better than them in practice and stuff.
Yeah,
I don't feel anything's guaranteed with them.
right. So are we ready to talk about the Browns?
Yeah.
They did a lot of interesting moves, and I don't feel like I've heard enough of our shows that the media talk about some of the moves the Browns made, and some of them are really real head scratchers. Okay, well, first one, let me just say, they didn't re-sign Joe Flacco because I think there would have been some kind of quarterback controversy. He's with the Colts now, and I think that's a good move for the Colts, especially Anthony Richardson coming off injury. But they did sign Tyler Huntley, who was the backup to Lamar and made a Pro Bowl, and also Jameis Winston. So I don't know if they'll keep all three.
They're still better I think both of them are still better options than Deshaun Watson is right now, and I feel that they're only sticking with Watson because they overpaid for him at the Wazoo and have not and are stuck with it.
They're more stuck than the Broncos were with Russell Wilson, and I think we're gonna see how bad it's gonna be. That being said, interesting. Like I'm guessing they're not gonna. I don't know what's gonna happen. Like where Kareem Hunt's gonna go. I don't. Because they signed Deonta Foreman, which good move, and Naheem Hines,
both good running backs.
Especially
I love Foreman. He just
right.
He is like undervalued, like underappreciated. I feel
right. Well, and Naheem Hines is kind of like an alternate, kind of more of a feedback and stuff. Like he can do other things that where Foreman and Chubb are like power backs and are hard to bring down and have speed. Like he just feels like Naheem Hines is just like full speed and stuff like that.
And they also have Jerome Ford, who took over for
So they're
Chubb. So I think they have a very strong running back room right now.
Right. So as long as and Hines is also I think plays special teams too. So
yeah, and he might with some stuff he might do very well this season.
Yeah, with those new rules. Yeah. So we'll see. Like I think those were some good moves. Now
the next person on the list is the most questionable one.
I don't understand. Okay, I understand trading for Jerry Jeudy, but man, giving him an extension and paying him
$41 million guaranteed in the 3-year contract. It's like $58 million, $41 million guaranteed at signing. That means the contract is lower the next few years, but you're paying him a lot right now and he's not that great of a receiver. He's a very questionable receiver. His numbers aren't better than Darius Slayton of the Giants.
Right, and I looked up some of the stuff the Broncos. We'll get into the Broncos signed Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds had more touchdowns and was like a wide receiver 3 and had more touchdowns, but and can block. And Jerry Jeudy had maybe 150 more yards and I think 17 more receptions or something like that. It was 40 for Josh Reynolds. I think the high 50s for Jerry Jeudy. I just don't feel. I feel like they overpaid and they're doing the whole thing with Deshaun Watson again. So I don't understand.
He's not going to help Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I think Jerry Jeudy will be a solid number 2 at best. He's not a number 1 receiver. I don't think he will be that.
He was having number 3 receiver stats, so
pretty much. I think he'll help Amari Cooper. If that's possible. If anything, it will help him. It might help. Amari Cooper might help him more, but I think his confidence has been shaken. I know he got into it with Steve Smith last year, and honestly, I'm a Broncos fan. You all know that. But I agreed with Steve Smith. I didn't think he was showing his, I didn't think he was playing all that great. He wasn't showing his true potential, and I forget exactly what Steve Smith said, but I'm not gonna you can visibly see some of this stuff, and I thought Steve Smith was right on some of that. So I'm gonna tell it how it is and how I see it, and I saw basically how Steve Smith saw it.
Hey, you're loyal. The being a fan is being more loyal to the team than the player. And if you see players that are not helping your team, you don't want them in that position. I can say the same thing. I don't want to see Liam Eichenberg at center for the Miami Dolphins anymore. He's great at guard. He's good at guard, but I don't need to see him at center anymore.
Yeah.
So like stuff like that, like
other moves that I think that they re-signed Shelby Harris,
Zadarius Smith.
So like they signed Devin Bush and Jordan Hicks. So they
their defense before. I mean, I don't think their defense will get back to the level it was before they played you and you messed them up for the rest of the season.
Right? It looks like they signed like Cade York. It says signed, but wasn't he with the team last year? I think.
I think they I think they got rid. I forget if they had him and got rid of him and then got him back.
I mean, kicker.
Yeah, they signed what was it, Dustin Hopkins, and then released Cade York.
Gotcha.
Since he had troubles with him last season.
Right. I was gonna say kickers is like what Rich said. Like kickers are players too. Punters are players too.
They are players too, and they are so important. So like that's why they're so easy to be like removed and added, because someone can't do because you need to do your job well, and if you don't, someone else will.
Right. But yeah, kickers are players too, or people too.
Yeah. So
I don't really remember what the saying is from Rich, but
we obviously I think
is it okay?
Yeah.
All I know is they're important, and
they are. Even punters are important. Like unless you're doing so well, you're not.
Right.
Then place kicker.
Right. So with that, I think we're good on the AFC North. I know 3 teams made it in. All 4 teams had winning records, and I know and depending on the quarterback situation for each of them, there's a very good chance all of them could make it in this year, because that's still going to be a tough division.
Yeah. I basically at minimum I feel the AFC North is all making it in unless something changes at this rate with how physical the division is.
Right, because the West sure ain't going to get any more than one team.
The East, I mean, obviously the East might, because like Miami and Buffalo are like tough fighting rivals right now. So, right. But I just still worry with how physical the North is.
Oh, the South is also kind of getting physical in their own right. Like I know we talked about it before, but the South they've got their own style of play, and I can see that it's gonna be close with them too. So, all right. So, do we want to talk about the East or the West? We could save the East for last. I think it's a little far more interesting than my division. So,
yeah, I mean, let's go with the West, because I know there are some teams that made some good moves and some teams that haven't done much. Might have put their quarterback at a weaker position.
Let's start about the Chargers first.
That's exactly who I was talking about. Who is?
I mean, they
throwing to?
Yeah, Will Disley and Hayden Hurst and Gus Edwards and Quentin Johnston.
Johnston needs to step it up.
Right? They traded Keenan Allen and for some reason re-signed their 2 defensive pieces and their older defensive pieces. Like, I don't understand the Khalil Mack one. I can understand Joey Bosa, but I don't understand both of them. I don't understand getting rid of Keenan Allen. I'm not the hugest Keenan Allen fan, but but someone who's a solid wide receiver, now he's going to the Bears, and I don't understand these moves. Now, there is a reason that they could be doing some of these moves. They signed a center, Bradley Bozeman, and I don't know if anybody re-signed with how some of this is phrased, but the Denzel Perryman, I only know him because he was a Raider and listening to it on Sports Talk, but I don't think they really did anything great. They re-signed Easton Stick too.
Gus Edwards is he's good, but it's not like he's not a total replacement for Austin Eckler.
Especially since he gets injured too. Like, I don't know if that's the Baltimore curse of running backs, but I forget, he wasn't the one that was injured a lot. It was,
no. Gus Edwards was actually the healthy one. So
yeah, my bad. It was everybody else.
It was J.K. Dobbins who was the injured one.
But even so, even without, it's still not it's still not Austin Eckler. And let's be honest. Go ahead and say your theory. I've heard some of the media talking about it too.
That that the Chargers are going to take J.J. McCarthy at 5. I mean, they could trade Justin Herbert away and get draft picks for that.
You trade Justin Herbert to Minnesota, you get 3 first-round draft picks. You get a new quarterback, one that Jim Harbaugh knows and has won with in college, and you build around the rest of the team. You get a wide receiver, you get some offensive line help, and that's why you're keeping your defensive pieces, because you're gonna take it as a rebuilding setting. I don't want to say rebuilding, but set in your culture year, and then you get JJ on 4 more years that are under that rookie contract. That might be how they win, because I don't see them winning. I don't know if I ever saw them winning with Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert's an all right quarterback. I mean, he had the numbers, but he didn't have the wins. And I know winning's not a QB stat, but
right. But you know what's crazy is that if he did go to Minnesota with the system that they have, the talent that they have, the conference and division well, maybe not the division because of the Packers and the Lions and the Bears, but they'd have. I think
Justin
he's got a better.
To Justin Jefferson gives them a shot.
That gives them a huge shot. And not just that, just because of the conference they're in, they've got a better shot than I think getting through. I think Justin Herbert has a better shot making the Super Bowl through the NFC. Mm-hmm. And it sounds crazy, but is it really crazy?
Justin Herbert goes to the NFC. He's instantly one of the top best quarterbacks of the NFC.
Right? He's not even top 5 in the AFC. He's probably he might be top 2 in the NFC.
So like that's like the
he's definitely top 5 if he changes. So
yeah, that's the difference in division in conferences right now.
And if like Minnesota, you even give up 1 next year, and the Chargers get 2 next year. Who are you failing here? Like, that's a win-win, I think, for the Chargers and the Vikings. Like,
I mean, you get a proven quarterback. He had some injury issues last year, but he has the numbers. You get a proven quarterback. If you're getting someone really good that I think can do well if he's just not on the Chargers right now.
Right now, crazy question for you, since we're just doing this hypothetical game. What if Minnesota offered you that same deal for Tua?
I don't know. Well, see, the difference with the Chargers is that they have a higher draft.
Right. I mean, I think you'd be just getting Penix, and they've compared Tua to Penix, and it's the whole rookie contract all over again.
I honestly don't know what we're doing, because, if we believe in Tua so much, why is the contract extension already?
Right. Why, even if it's a 2 or 3 year deal, why hasn't
Tua been paid yet?
Like, why are we not agreeing on some kind of like Daniel Jones deal? I don't think that's too unfair.
But hypothetically, if we could grant it, I don't know about because they say Tua, because that would be the best play. Yeah, because that's the best place for Tua. The guy to be back with the guy who hated him. Yes. He's not in charge of the offense, but that would be there would be tension there. But
I guess Minnesota or any other, if there was another team that was
it depends on what we get out of it. But if we I like Michael Penix Jr. and I heard he's like Tua, but he also has he might have a slightly deeper arm, but Tua throws deep anyways. So it's basically you're trading Tua for a slightly younger Tua, but Tua's has more skills. Tua's gotten better every season, so I don't really want to get rid of him. But Michael Penix could succeed in Mike McDaniel's system. I'm not going to deny that. There's a lot of QBs I think that Mike McDaniel get the best out.
I mean, the big question is that I know that they talk about it, and it's like Penix can play in the cold weather because he played in Washington, right? Mm-hmm. With the rain,
right. Well, that's the thing. I don't know what Miami. Let's just say I want Tua to stay, but if we do any other crazy shenanigans, which I don't see why we need to do any crazy shenanigans, he was the passing leader. Unless Tua wants a lot more money, then I don't know, which might be the thing. But
who knows? Maybe you get Dak next year, the Dolphins, and the Cowboys hate Tua.
I know Tua was a Cowboys fan, so we might do that.
Who knows for sure,
right? But we'll see next year, because if Tua gets hurt or something, I don't know if Tua doesn't get better, or if he gets hurt or something, I don't know if we're going to pay him unless we pay him before the season, because I'm still waiting. Why haven't they done something? I think they did something last year, like a temporary thing, but
we can
move on to this when we get back to the East. But yes, I think the Chargers could take J.J. McCarthy because of the success Jim Harbaugh. Man, too many coaches, too many Mikes, too many whatever. Just lost track of everything there. My bad. We were on too many different teams.
Right. We us we go off on a little bit of a tangent, but it was a good question. It's an interesting theory, so I had to play it up to you.
It was, and I took the wrong road back.
Right. I mean,
I got confused going backwards.
Justin and Tua are always going to be like, intertwined because of where they were.
I think all the quarterbacks, because of how much success they're all having, we'll see. And I do want to see Tua with the Dolphins be like the first one that be the first quarterback that wins the Super Bowl from that draft class. But still,
right? I mean, technically, Justin and Tua are all of the first 5 quarterbacks, because I'm going to throw in Jalen Hurts. Those 5, Tua and Justin Herbert are technically at the bottom for where they're at, because the farthest they've gone is lost a first round playoff game. Everybody else is either 2 of them have been to a Super Bowl already, and one of them made it to the divisional round. So technically in his first full season as a quarterback. So anything else on the Chargers?
I'm assuming they're either drafting J.J. McCarthy or they're getting trading down and getting a few wide receivers. But last thing, like if they did do that trade with Minnesota, they'd have extra draft capital to get J.J. McCarthy and wide receivers.
Yes, and some help on the O-line. Like, it's actually a really smart move. They basically would get, like, the Vikings would get, their quarterback, which they don't need any. I feel like they're pretty solid everywhere else, and the Chargers would get a quarterback and help everywhere else. I think it would take some balls and ownership, and ownership approval to do that. I think I could see Jim Harbaugh do it. I think it would be. I won't be completely shocked. I'll be shocked that it's happening, but I'll be shocked because it's like we talked about it,
Right.
Like, oh my God, it's actually happening.
Right. Once we get past, like, the draft's going to be wild. Once we get past, I think the first 3 are going to be set at QB, but we'll see if the Patriots make any other moves.
Well, we'll talk about them we'll talk about them.
Right. I think the first 2 are set though.
Right. All right. So Chargers, not bad. It's more not bad with their signings. I'm just more about the re-signings and the fact that they didn't, keep any of their wide receivers and stuff. So, like, and I won't say that they were like, a top 10, tandem or anything. I just, but they were still a good tandem. Maybe they were a top 10 tandem. I actually don't know. Let's see. This one, I think, I gotta go with the Broncos next. Not because they did. I think they did better than the Chargers, but they basically we know by now. You all know by now that the Broncos cut Russell Wilson. We're eating a lot of that salary, dead cap hit. So our salary cap is hurting, but it is what it is. But we re-signed our fullback Michael Burton. We signed re-signed Little Jordan Humphrey. Adam Troutman. Re-signed Justin Strand.
You sure that's not Stranad?
Stranad. I think it is Stranad. And I was like,
your brain wants to read it as Strand, but
I was like, no,
that is the dyslexia.
It wasn't even that. I was just like, I'm trying to make it sound right, and it wasn't coming out right.
Strnad is hard to pronounce.
Right. We re-signed Will Lutz, which kicker. I'm happy about that. Like, could have been, I think he was a pretty solid kicker for the, he had maybe 2 bad games, or not even bad games, just like maybe 2 bad times during a game, like in the first game and somewhere towards the end that really hurt us. But I still think he was a solid kicker and better than McManus. What's his first name again?
Brandon
McManus. Yes. And the big one I'm happy with was PJ Locke. We re-signed him to a 2-year deal with like a max value of $9 million. So like that was a great. I'm sad we got rid of Justin Simmons.
Yeah.
But we signed like Cody Barton, Malcolm Roach, Matt Pert, Pert.
Right.
Just some linebacker, offensive tackle. Roach was a defensive lineman. Just to kind of shore up the, fill in some of the holes and stuff. But we also signed Josh Reynolds, which, I think a solid wide receiver 3. And like, especially if we're trying to get Mims to be like our number 2, maybe even future number 1 guy. With Cortland Sutton still there, like he's
good if Tim Patrick can't stay healthy. healthy. Like,
right, I think he's going to fill in for Tim Patrick if he doesn't make the team. Like, I'm not sure if Tim Patrick's going to make the team because we re-signed him too.
Yeah, like Tim Patrick is like so good, but gets so injury prone, sadly.
Right, it doesn't say that we re-signed Tim Patrick, but I think his contract was up and it was a re-signing for him.
I thought that he was on in talks about being traded, but I don't think he was like.
I forget, but I think he got an extension. I forget. He was. I know. I know he's going to be a part of the team still. So like that's good. It sucks that he didn't get to play with Russ because I know he had like 2 good years before Russ came. So
right, he might have made a difference.
I personally think that the fact that we're staying with Jared Stidham and maybe we're showing our hand, but like there are teams that you just know they're going to go sign it. They're going to go for a quarterback. So like why get a Ryan Tannehill right now if we're going to try for a quarterback? And I think we're going to be one of the teams that goes for a quarterback in free agency.
I think you
or
will.
in the draft. And we'll talk more about the draft before like the week going up to it. So I don't want to go because we already did a lot of draft talk.
I think you will go for. Yeah, I think you will go for a quarterback in the draft, and then you might take like someone like Ryan Tannehill afterward, depending on who you get. You just need to But Jarrett Stidham, but Ryan Tannehill's not going to do anything. I don't think like anything that heads above Jarrett Stidham. Like
Jarrett Stidham at this point, like he learned from Tom Brady, Jimmy Garoppolo. He's been a backup. He can teach. Like I feel like he's learned a lot where he can teach a lot. That just makes sense to me in my head when I said it.
Jarrett Stidham sounds like he might be one of the next, or might be a head coach in a few more years, rather than the quarterback leading a team in the next few years, like Kevin O'Connell.
There's a chance of that. Yeah, if he wants to be a coach, I could see that.
And you also signed Brandon Jones, who was from Miami.
Oh, right. I don't. Yeah, I missed saying that one. That one, he'll be good with PJ Locke and just Patrick Surtain. Yeah, he has 2 in the back, so
he was a few years ago. I think it was 2 years ago before he got hurt. He was really good, and then he got hurt, and he wasn't. He might have still been recovering last season, but he was really like if he can get back to the level he was at, he was really good. So I think if John Payton can and your defense can get more out of it, get him back to where he was out the seller signing. That's like an under the radar, like undervalued signing.
Totally, especially a 3-year deal. I don't know I forget what it's worth.
It does not mention how much it's worth on what we're using, but yeah.
Well, I'm trying to remember. Like it was still a good deal. Like I think it was a 3-year deal for $20 million. I thought it was about $20 million. And it's 12.5 guaranteed, so like up to 20 with a base of 20 million, up to 22.5 with like incentives and stuff. So I'm pretty happy with that deal. Because even at minimum, like if he doesn't get anything, that's still like 4 million, a little over 4 million a year. So as far as if it's at minimum, at max, it's like 7.5 million, something like that. So yeah, nothing wrong with that. It's about the same thing, and PJ Locke's, a little less, but I think it's a good deal. I think it's a solid thing. I'm just hoping that we can win the games. I don't know if we're going to be last in the division. It really depends on the Chargers, but I would just like to win. I would just like to see, I don't care if we make the playoffs because, it's like Russ isn't there. Like, that was a big part of it.
It will depend on how well your quarterback play is between the teams.
Yeah, I'm okay with a rebuild year, even if that means we make the same record at like 7 or 8-9.
If you stay the same without Russ, then that's a success.
Yeah, or even close to it, like, especially if we have a rookie quarterback. So it's going to be a long season for the Broncos, though. It's going to be an interesting one, too. I mean, last year was interesting as well, so.
Yeah, just I hope everyone all the teams know to temper expectations. CJ Stroud is the exception, not the rule. Like, he is the exception to the rookie quarterback being super good at the first year.
But, I mean, kinda. Andrew Luck had a good rookie year. Baker Mayfield did.
But I mean, like, how many of them won the division and stuff and won a playoff game?
True. So, all right. So we'll move on.
Which team do you want to talk about? Which team do you feel like talking about the least? The last
I guess we'll go with the Chiefs because
I like the moves the Raiders did. So
I do too. So I'd rather take the best. What I feel is the best for last. Not first of all, the Chiefs got Marquise Brown, so on a 1-year deal, I think that was a good move for him and them because because I don't know what they're going to do with Kadarius Toney.
Have him
and
run
Sky
punts.
Moore. Yeah,
Kadarius Toney in punts with the new rules. That's where he's saying
that should be it. Marquise Brown can be a solid number 2 or number 1 with Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce. Signed Irv Smith, so a solid tight end to just play opposite of Travis Kelce. Or and they also had Noah Gray, I think.
Yeah,
he wasn't bad. He was a big kind of tight end, so like they gotta find somebody because Travis Kelce is eventually going to retire sooner than later.
And I know we grabbed one of their other tight ends, which we'll talk about when we get there. But he was one of the like they're probably their tight end 3 or something.
Right. Well, and he would have been tight end 4 if he resigned, but they re-signed Chris Jones, which was really important. And Drew Tranquil. Did I say that? Drew Tranquil. And they got then re-signed Deion Bush. They signed Matt Araiza, which I mean, like, let's be honest, that's they don't punt it that much to even be for that to even for that to even be a worry. To be like
right, like at least he's getting a chance here.
So and then a lot of things were just re-signing. Honestly, like Irv Smith and Marquise Brown were the only like new players besides Matt Araiza. So honestly, I felt like they did pretty solid. Like, I mean, you're the Super Bowl champion, so like you keeping
you're
your
gonna
core.
lose. You're gonna keep some people. You're gonna lose some people.
They did trade away L'Jarius Sneed after having him under the franchise tagged him. It's an interesting move.
Did they not like him or something because they traded like what, a draft pick from next year or got it?
I think it was the price really. Like they couldn't afford everybody, and Chris Jones was important.
So rather get something than nothing.
And they have that other cornerback I'm blanking on.
I don't know. I don't know.
There was another big cornerback. It's hard to remember him because like let's be honest, Sneed was the better cornerback, and he made a lot of moves, especially the safe flowers, saving, punching the ball out at the goal line, saving touchdown that really, that could have probably would have changed the game, honestly. Like that would have changed the game. It changed the game either way, but they lost by a touchdown.
Right. It depends on. We'll see how much impact L'Jarius Sneed had.
Right. Well, and he got traded to the Titans.
Which a good move for the Titans.
Trent McDuffie is the one that I'm thinking of.
Okay.
He was their first round. He was their first round pick in 2022, and he's 23, going on 24. So like I get
I think he's a bit underrated, and if they might leave the team in a few years, they can't pay him too. But,
well, they won't have to owe as much money to Chris. Yeah.
Right. We'll see. We'll worry about that.
If he was a first round pick in 2022, so this is going to be year 3 for him. Yeah, 22, 23. Yeah. So he's still got 2 more years under that rookie contract and a possible franchise tag. So
the third part of Final Fantasy VII's remake series might be out by the time we have to worry about that.
Right. So but yeah, no, solid. Like I feel like it's only a little bit better than the Broncos because they re-signed Chris Jones and got Marquise Brown and Irv Smith was pretty solid, tight end. But like those first 2, it's like they were a little bit better than the Broncos moves. So that's kind of why I put them there. And they're obvious. And let's be honest, unless the Raiders are, I think right now the only ones that are going to have a decent chance because their head coach is now their head coach, not the interim head coach. So he's going to have a lot more in place. Players are playing for him, and I think if they feel more like the team that's got most of their pieces together except quarterback. But they did take Gardner Minshew, and if they are signing somebody, if they are going to draft somebody, Gardner can still start, and if and he can learn behind Gardner because Gardner's a Pro Bowler from last year, played great after Anthony Richardson got hurt, and that's probably why he's with the Raiders because they weren't going to resign. It's like Joe Flacco thing. They weren't going to resign the guy who got him to the playoffs and was leading and doing good because they want the young guy to do it.
So, yeah, this is good. This is a good move. Gardner Minshew to the Raiders was one of their really good moves they did. We love Gardner, and I think he'll be great even if they do, which they probably will, draft a quarterback. And like that, the quarterback can sit while Gardner plays. If Gardner has issues, then you can replace him when the quarterback's ready.
Right, and I mean, I think he'll compete with Aiden O'Connell. Like, I think that it's going to be a contest right there. Even if they draft somebody, and they don't have to draft somebody at 13, they could draft somebody in the second round if they want to, because they did get Gardner Minshew.
Right, Gardner's a solid one option right now, and Aiden O'Connell wasn't that bad last season.
And here's the thing with Gardner Minshew, like you said, he has a lot of good stats. The only thing he didn't have in Jacksonville was wins, but like QB wins aren't a stat, right? Like I don't know if we count I don't know where to count them, but it feels like it's one of those stats that shouldn't be counted because he's got good numbers and he's learned behind in good coaches and behind good other good QBs too.
Wins only count as a QB stat if you have mediocre stats. If you have great stats, then they don't count against you.
Except for Gardner, but he was a Jaguar, so that's why it counted.
I don't know. Like Deshaun Watson should have not been picked up because of his it had his best statistical season, but only got like 4 wins. Like, who wants that? The Browns. They did.
Well, yeah, and they got rid of Baker, and Tampa Bay won the division. And made it further than the Browns did.
We could talk. We could talk about the Browns' unintellectual moves, a whole podcast about it. But
right. Meanwhile, they also signed your former Miami Dolphin of Christian Wilkins, which
sadness.
Yes.
Welcome to the city, Christian. But didn't want you wanted you still in Miami. But we understand that. But understand, money talks.
I'm surprised he didn't. I mean, I don't know if he's in town yet, but he could have shown up to Anime Las Vegas. I mean,
I heard I believe Zach Sealer had his kid, and Christian Wilkins is the godfather. So I think he was at Miami.
Okay. Because I mean, he's a Power Ranger fan. Like, if
I was looking for him.
I'm sure you were. Like, he's Dolphin. He was always one of my favorites to watch, and I know that
I'm gonna like him with the Raiders. I mean, I don't like the Raiders, but
you're still gonna like him.
I like players. So.
I'm gonna still like him, even if he's a Raider. Not against the Broncos, obviously, but take care. He can. Take care of the Chargers and the Chiefs. But for those who don't know, like, he's a Power Rangers fan. That's actually whenever he gets like a sack or a stop and whatever.
The morphing.
He's just the Mighty Morphin time. So, and he was a big White Ranger. Jason David Frank, Tommy Oliver was his favorite character, if I remember that correctly. Because
I believe he did have like the White Ranger suit on in when he was drafted.
Yeah. Like, I knew there was some reason. I remember him being a White Ranger fan. So
the Tiger Power is now with the Raiders.
Right. It's okay. I was gonna say Tommy went from, at one point he was a White Ranger, and he was white and green, so it was like appropriate to be a Dolphin first, I think, and then he became a Black Ranger. So
I guess at least he didn't go to a red team.
Right. Yet. Maybe if he's a big fan of Tommy, he'll join the team that wears red at some point.
As long as it's not the Chiefs.
Right. Right. We'll see. But
or the Bills.
Well, they're more blue, but I mean, I'm thinking that if they wear more of a red jersey, more
more predominantly red than
right. Like, I mean, like the Texans even feel like they're kind of a maybe. Like, I'd say Chiefs, possibly Washington, because it's a darker red.
The 49ers.
49ers would be a bit more of a possibility. Like Tampa Bay right now would might be a possibility. But like who knows? It depends on if he wants to if he wants to wear the colors Tommy did too. I mean, he's already got 3. He's going to be wearing black this year, so he's wore green. He's aqua, so that counts as the green. Maybe he'll go for
the green. The Green Ranger, like Green Ranger Tommy was more of the aqua green.
Well, at least in the Japanese footage, yeah.
Yeah, the American footage, no, but the Japanese footage, yeah.
Oh yeah, but so he's got the white, the green, black. So we'll see. That's like I mean, I'm not happy about like talking about the Raiders like this, but they also signed Alexander Madison. Not good.
He's all right. I mean, if he was really good, he would have stayed in Minnesota.
True. I'm not gonna be surprised if they pick up a running back this season.
Oh, easily in the draft.
Just not the first round.
No.
But everything, and they resigned. I mean, they also resigned Amir Abdullah, and I remember him having a good season too. So
yeah, Amir was.
So that could be a 1-2 punch. And everybody else was really a re-signing. So I think a pretty solid one from the Raiders. So if anybody has a chance to dethroned, or it's really not being dethroned. It's going to be the who gets second place and has a chance at a playoff wild card spot. I think it's the Raiders this year. They were actually the team that I said instead of the Broncos because they beat us twice. They were the team that went. They were like that worst to first. Well, they really were just third to second, and we went from fourth to third in the division, and the Chargers were at the bottom. So I actually ate too early to say prediction list. I have a feeling that the division's going to end up exactly the same. Chiefs in first, Raiders in second, Broncos in third, Chargers in fourth. We'll see if that changes, and it's really because I don't know who Justin Herbert's really going to have to throw to, and that aging defense too.
Right? Unless J.J. McCarthy's throwing the people.
Yep, and they draft people because,
Well, they might draft...
they draft people because they make the whole trade and get Minnesota's pieces, so.
They could still trade, they still probably could get wide receivers in the draft as well, just normally. But.
Yeah. All right, we good here?
Yep, we can move on to my division.
Yes, AFC East time. All right, so let's just start off with the bat because I think it's gonna be I think there's divisiveness in your entire division about who's gonna win because of what they lost, and I think that and what they picked up, and I think that is the entire division from head to toe. But I think we got to start.
We're all against the Jets, though. The other three teams in the division.
That doesn't really surprise me, and it feels right, which is weird because you'd think you'd be out against the Patriots too.
But I think we technically all hate each other, but we agree on not caring about the Jets.
That's fair. But let's start with I think we should start with the Bills first.
Alrighty.
Unless you want to start with the Jets.
It really doesn't matter to me. But I mean, the Bills did lose a lot.
See, that's why I think they're the most controversial in my opinion, because everybody's like, if you still think Buffalo's gonna win, I think the whole division, I think it's a little crazy because Miami lost Christian Wilkins and a few other defensive pieces and stuff.
We'll get to Miami.
I'm getting to my point. But like they lost Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White, and on the offense they lost Mitch Morris. They lost their center. They lost wide receivers like Gabe Davis. I'd like a list more of what they lost more than what they Part of the problem is they re-signed. They signed Von Miller to that huge contract, and just really didn't pay him highly up front, and now they're paying for it. But at least you re-signed. At least the Buffalo Bills, you re-signed AJ Epinesa and Deion Dawkins. Those were huge moves. You got Curtis Samuel. That was a good move. Mac Hollins as well for wide receiver help. And you re-signed Taylor Rapp.
With how well Curtis Samuel did in the Commanders, I think he's a slightly more of an upgrade over Gabe Davis. So
I will agree on that one. Gabe Davis had potential, but it just never panned out. I'm still a little iffy on some of these moves. I guess it's going to be more of a wait and see, but I'm not going to be surprised if they take a step back this year. And I don't know. And honestly, considering they snuck in and won the division last year, basically taking a step back is not winning the division this year. So we thought you were not going to do last season,
right?
But Tennessee happened.
Mm-hmm.
I like the moves that they did to resign, and I liked what they did get. And Mitch Trubisky as a backup is solid because I think he has the same frame and stuff as Josh Allen. So I feel like that's one of the better moves. And but I don't know, just some of those. I don't know if they did enough for what they got rid of. That makes sense.
Right. I know they signed Will Clappett as their center. I don't know if he's going to be better than Mitch Morris.
Well, they might also draft,
Yeah, they might draft one. And they re-signed some people. Didn't get much here. I don't think any. I don't know. If some of these people are they re-signed a bunch of people, so they didn't really grab a few. They only grabbed a few offensive free agents right now. So.
Right. I don't. So it's going to be interesting. I don't really have much else to add to that, so
they're banking on Josh Allen, and that's and with hopefully having slightly better weapons will help them push forward. But I know Stephon Diggs always keeps saying makes questionable moves on Twitter, he's not happy there. So
right, but he wasn't happy in Minnesota. I won't be surprised if they are one of the teams that actually trades up for a wide receiver, because I think that's what they need to get, a wide receiver one.
I think they need a trade. I think they should probably trade Stephon Diggs and get someone high. They can pull that off.
Right? Like, I won't be surprised at a draft day trade. Like, there have been big ones before. I can see that with them.
Mm.
All right. I guess we can move to the Patriots. They've got the 3rd overall pick, but they signed Jacoby Brissett. We don't like, they make sense to draft a quarterback, but at the same time, I think they re-signed Kendrick Bourne, signed Antonio Gibson. They got KJ Osborne and re-signed Jalen Rager and Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper.
Well, Hunter Henry was a re-sign.
Well, yeah, the re-signed or signed as far as like offensive weapons and stuff. But none of these feel like wow.
All of their like they have like a bunch of wide receiver 3s. It feels like almost maybe they're 2s, but I mean if they can catch the ball, that's really all that matters.
Right.
And I know they still have Ramondre Stevenson, so they just run the ball with him. It's going to be interesting to see where the team goes since it's the first year without Belichick.
Right? Like, so do you really draft a quarterback or not? Like,
when you're this high and there's like so many good quarterbacks, I think you should. But if another team comes calling with a haul, I wouldn't say no. I mean, Jacoby Brissett and Bailey Zappi are good enough. And you can draft one of the other lower quarterbacks, maybe. Like you could draft you could maybe trade down and get Penix if you believe in him or something.
Right. And I mean, like some of these names, I honestly, I'm looking at everybody else that they signed. I really don't know. And the biggest one feels like Jacoby Brissett, honestly, and KJ Osborne. Like it's like
what was it? Sion Takitaki. I always liked on the Browns.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I missed him. That feels like a good Patriots defensive move. So
so honestly, they re-signed a bunch of people. I think it depends on if Gerard Mayo can get the same or more out of the defense than Belichick, and having Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez back will help them immensely, especially Christian Gonzalez, who didn't get to play a full rookie season.
Right, that's true.
So I don't know what to expect from the Patriots till they get their quarterback, if they get their quarterback.
Right. All right. Anything else with the Patriots?
I'm pretty good.
All right.
Rather just get the Jets out of it.
I mean, I feel like there's probably we're going to probably spend a little bit more time on the Dolphins, but I think both teams made a lot of moves. It just depends on. I mean, I guess we could talk about do we want to talk about the Jets first?
Well, let's talk about the move the Jets aren't making, switching to grass.
Right. Well, I was gonna say first. I mean, it's also a Giants thing too. But yes, they should they be switching the grass? Yes. I don't know who's in charge of that stadium, why they haven't, but that should be something that they do.
I mean, player safety. You look at the injury rate at MetLife, and like, man, is it like the World Cup or something being played here?
Like, is that not going to be on grass?
That might be on grass. I thought they said something about soccer being on grass, but like, this is still going to be on turf. But still, it's ridiculous, and it's not going to help some of their signings, like Mike Williams, who is injury prone on the most injury prone field.
Right. Well, at least they signed Tyrod Taylor to have a capable backup. Not that Zach Wilson, I think he was still in his developmental with Aaron Rodgers, and Nathaniel Hackett not going to
help him develop. So I feel like he just needs to get to a fresh start. I don't know if I think they just need to release him because they're going to get nothing. I don't think they're getting anything for him, or they just need to accept the bargain basement deal for him of like a 7th or like next year's 7th or 2 years from now 7th.
Right. Honestly, they really worked on their O-line. Like they got Morgan Moses in a trade from the Ravens, Tyron Smith from the Cowboys. Since they released him. John Simpson, they signed a 2-year deal. He signed a 2-year deal.
Wasn't Tyron Smith also injury prone being on this field too?
Yes. So I know they're not really doing any favors here, but and that's pretty much it. Like, I mean, they resigned like Solomon Thomas and but like I don't necessarily feel.
I mean, they did sign Javon Kinlaw, who was decent on the 49ers.
Okay.
So like they
got, but pretty decent on the. I mean, I don't know how that is when you look at that defense.
When you look at the 49ers, I don't know.
Like hopefully he can shine there. If he can shine there, and he was just like the worst worst of the best.
Right, like
That might be something.
Right, like it all. I think it depends on how. Like at least with Tyrod Taylor, you have someone in case anything happens to Aaron Rodgers again. We'll see how well Aaron Rodgers actually does in New York. That's what we all wanted to see last year, and
right, we got a 4 plays.
All right, and they weren't great plays.
No, they weren't. All right, so now I think that's pretty much it. I think the basic thing that comes down to the Jets is these would be good moves if they weren't on the Jets. Do the Jets know actually how to manage this, like as a team? Because I don't have confidence in the Jets. I have less confidence in the Jets than I think I have the Browns. They're about equal, but it's about equal at best.
It's not even coaching. Like I just feel bad for Robert Saleh because like he's like in this mess. Like I don't know like if they knew what they were doing with Dak Wilson last season. There was probably a lot of backstage drama, and like I don't think anyone could have done well in that situation. And it's that just like that whole like
it's Todd Bowles again.
Yeah, it's like this whole bad culture is there, and it's just like Jets culture, and like that's why we think less of the Jets right now.
And I think it could be like Todd Bowles, like Robert Saleh will probably get another chance, maybe in like 10 years, if under the right circumstances. And look at what Todd Bowles has done: 2 division championships and divisional round appearance this year. So Robert Saleh could go to the like he could go to a team that's got a coach that then eventually, an older coach that might retire at some point, and he could get another chance. It just
that
depends.
Or Saleh will go back to the 49ers, depending on how their defense goes as a defensive coordinator, and then become a head coach again. I just think, or another team just might like him, and it might not be like 10 years. It might not be as long of a wait because he's done decently. He just had a bad quarterback.
Depends on the team, honestly, and it depends on what happens. But other than that, I wish him well, because I don't think he is not. I don't think he's the problem there. I think everything that he's just going to be the fall guy this year, if anything.
So who do you trust? I know you mentioned about the Browns about not trusting. How do you with those 2 teams? Where do you put the Panthers involved with them now?
Panthers are definitely at the bottom.
I slightly trust the Jets organization a little more than all the Michigas they mentioned in Carolina.
With David Tepper, yeah. Which is really, really bizarre and absurd when you know that he was like a partial owner with the Steelers for a little bit and like learned, so you would think that he would know better. But that's beyond that's besides the fact. Let's move on to the Dolphins, who lost. I think their biggest loss was Christian Wilkins, and they re-signed a lot of players.
We lost, so yeah, Christian Wilkins and I'd say Andrew Van Ginkel were big losses for us, but we signed a lot of players to make up.
Well, let's talk about your re-signings first, like Ahmed, Barrios, Craig Kraft,
all good moves.
Isaiah Wynn, Robert Jones, like there were players that know the system. That's always good to have.
Always good to have, and always good to have good offensive linemen and good offensive linemen depth.
Right. One of the big moves I feel like, I don't know if it gets talked about enough, was it's like the Jordan Brooks one. That feels like that might have been a pretty solid one if he.
Yeah, Jordan Brooks is another one of those sort of injury prone players, but but we took like David Long, Mike Vrabel's last season. David Long said or Mike Vrabel said David Long was kind of injury prone, and like that kind of pissed off David Long, who was like healthy the entire season and kicked ass and stayed healthy. So like Jordan Brooks looks like another one, like if he can stay healthy, is going to be a monster signing idea.
Yeah. And Jonnu Smith, I think, would like a bit of a career resurgence, and you need tight end. So
yeah, it would be good to have a better, like another tight end opposite of Durham Smythe. Durham Smythe is like, a kind of a tight end too. Like he's more of a blocking tight end. He does his job. He's good. Jody Fortson was the other tight end from the Chiefs, who might be the lucky charm. He's been there. He's been on the Chiefs every year they won a Super Bowl. Now he's with Miami, so now he can go get the next Super Bowl.
Yeah, right. Right, get more than Travis Kelce. That's the goal, right?
Right. You know, he was. Yes, I'm believing in my delusions here. He is the lucky charm, the missing piece that gets the Dolphins to gets the Dolphins to winning the Super Bowl.
Right. Well, I would not hold your breath on that, but good luck with that.
Right. You know, we all make up our delusions here.
You also signed like Anthony Walker and Kendall Fuller. I thought was a good one. And
yes, they were. Yeah. The other big one, Jordan Poyer.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was the biggest, but you know, in the whole revenge.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. You know, he took a. I don't think he took the biggest deal, but he took a good deal to get some revenge on the Bills.
He lives in Miami or South Florida,
so tax-free money.
So yeah, like
how much was his deal worth?
I don't remember. Also, we signed joining him from the Bills was Ciaran Neal, who more of the special team star, but with new special teams rules, he might be more of a special team, have more of a role. We just signed a lot of like defensive tackles, and another big one we signed was
it was a 2-year deal for I mean a $2 million deal for I mean, and Jordan Poyer is a little older, so I get it, but I still feel like, you know, as long as he's healthy, he was solid. So
right. Two of the other big signings I liked were Shaq Barrett.
Yeah, that was a big one for me. I was gonna say, because, you know, former Bronco, but 2-time Super Bowl champion. So
he says he sells a lot into him, and like even the what was it? Todd Bowles said like the Dolphins are getting a great player. So so I'm excited for him. I think we got Anthony Weaver from the Ravens as our new defensive coordinator, and I feel like we're gonna just be better on defense with his type of scheming. And I think Shaq's just going to. I think we made up for losing Christian Wilkins by getting a lot of other players.
But there's also the drafted. Like, honestly, you could replace Christian Wilkins and get somebody a high defensive lineman in the draft, I think, and be pretty solid for his for your, you know, for your draft pick. I don't know what else you need. Maybe cornerback.
I know we still have offensive line. I know we got a lot of offensive linemen. The other one, like one of the other big signings I liked was Aaron Brewer as for center. So we actually you know, because Connor Williams got hurt, he's just focused on recovering right now. He hasn't signed with anyone. That's how hurt he is right now.
Right. Hopefully he'll come back to you guys.
But like, so we have an actual center, and like I said before, the less Liam Eichenberg is the center, the better.
Right. Because he's better at guard.
Well, and he never played center beyond last season. So center, like, you kind of want someone who's played center, who's had center experience. So I can see us take a center in the draft, whether first round or second round or even later rounds. But yeah, I like. We have a lot of options open with what we did in free agency to pick what we want in the draft, because we do have Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips coming back.
Right, Jalen Phillips. I think he was the most important piece of your defense.
We lost two. We had like no pass rushers at the end there, and like how are you supposed to win a playoff game with like no pass rushers,
especially against like Patrick Mahomes,
right?
In the cold,
yeah. We had like we had to get these like big name people that were good like 5, 7, 10 years ago if they were in their prime, but like we had to get these people and like with not much practice in like in a game where fans got frostbite to chase after Patrick Mahomes. Like, yes, that was a recipe for success. Totally. It's a recipe for the suck part of success, but not the success part.
Well, yeah.
But no, I like the moves Miami made. Like, I know we signed like Jonathan Harris and Neville Gallimore, and I think that we have a lot of like pieces for depth, and depth is so important. So like, I feel like depth is what has hurt us a lot the last few seasons. So I think this is a good look. I think even I think we've like added a lot to make up for what we lost.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it sounds like you had a good free agency in your opinion.
Yeah, like I think we and we're gonna probably get compensatory picks depending on how like things go.
I forget I think those come next year. Though.
Yeah, next year. Yeah.
But it's still good. It's still good. So like, I think you had a better free agency than us, but for like us, I think it was just good for what we were doing. So like, I'm happy. think there were some better ones than both our teams, but good overall. So
right, I think Miami's just big things. It's like it's going to come down to the coach and Tua developing more, Mike McDaniel developing more too, and that Anthony Weaver is a good defense coordinator. So a few things like up front, depending, but Chris Greer is doing a good job so far. I know some people didn't like our punter signing of Jake Bailey because he wasn't that great. Like we re-signed him, and I'm just like, well, let's just not punt.
You might draft somebody or get somebody coming out of college or the UFL. So there could be a punting competition. We'll see.
Right.
And hopefully you're good enough that you don't have to punt as often. That's the goal.
Right. Just make first downs. Just make field goals. Don't worry about punting.
Right. All right. So I think we're gonna leave it there for now.
Yep.
So we just made this into an AFC one. We'll talk about the NFC free agencies and teams coming up here soon. But we kind of went a little all over the place in the beginning, and we're catching you up on what had happened to us. This took us a little while to record, so I forget if we missed anything as far as like big moves. I know like the whole L'Jarius Sneed. We didn't mention it in the Titans part, but that happened after we we talked about them, but like with but that's why we talked about it with the Chiefs, and we'll see. I think the Titans really improved. So I can't wait for the AFC South football because it really is like they've got their own style, so just like the North does. So I'm excited to see how that plays out. Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining us, and we'll have our NFC free agency talk or podcast coming up very soon. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you here next time, hopefully a lot sooner. And again, thank you for joining us. See you again soon. Bye.